Coming to you from the historic Hart Building in Marysville, California, in Studio 93, in the Tank with Fish, with your host, Bob Fischetti.
Well, welcome to yet another time where you get to hang out with Kelly and I, the minnow and the fish.
Yep.
The minnow, it sounds like a movie.
It does.
The minnow and the fish, right? Yeah, what did somebody come on? They say, oh, it's like fish and loaves because you make bread.
Yeah.
Fish and loaves. That's
yeah,
right.
Dom said that on the last episode. That's pretty smart.
I didn't think about that. So we're going to talk about something I don't know if people had heard of. I've never heard of it.
Oh, my gosh.
But you were telling me a story about your son. You guys were in a golf cart. Tell that story.
Okay.
I've never heard of it. This is real stuff. I go, where?
I know, and hopefully this isn't a bad thing because I really don't know. But so we're in a golf cart for his tournament, and, you know, it's 110 degrees out.
Yeah.
We're all hot and sweaty. The poor kid's been golfing 18 holes, which they walk with their bag, and his little brother and I are riding in the golf cart, which is still ridiculously hot because it's path only. It's cart path only, so you can't pull off to find shade. Your cart shuts down. So Caden, my oldest, gets back on the cart at the end of the day. We load up his bag, and he is just like... And Oliver and I, we're three people on this cart, so we're like... Oliver and I are all compact and like nice... Oliver and I are like, excuse us, sir, do you mind? And Caden goes, what? I'm man-spreading. And I was like, what is that? He's like, it's when you just like need more space to spread out. I'm like, child, did you make that up?
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Mom, it's a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly learning new things as a parent to teenage boys.
I'm sure it's in Wikipedia.
Right? I know.
Man-spreading.
Man-spreading. Yeah. And no joke, it's a thing. Who would have thought?
Well, you know, honestly,
That's
I have
basically
no idea what the young man is talking about.
That is it. Yeah. You nailed it.
Yeah, because I can't do the pillow thing that you do.
Like, I love this
You're
pillow.
really, you know.
I just get cozy.
Yeah, and it's like, to me, the pillow is like it's just in a way.
I mean, I could do two pillows.
I can't man-spread.
Yeah. No, it's a thing. So, you know, the next time you really need to just like flop out wherever you want and take up more space than you should. Yeah. Learning every day.
Well, listen, we're going to be right back. We have Katy Goodson coming in with us, and I'm kind of excited. I've known Katy for a long time, right? Just a great gal. But this is going to be an opportunity. We're going to find out if Katy's a California girl.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're going to ask her, where were you born? How were you raised?
Yeah.
You know?
Give us all the juicy details.
Well, there's a rumor out she was raised by wolves, but I don't believe it.
We'll find out.
There's no way. No way.
You heard it here last.
Well, yeah. We'll see if she refutes that when she comes in, right? I wasn't raised by wolves. It was bears.
Yeah.
I don't know where you people get your stories.
Exactly.
So anyway, stay with us. Fish and Kelly, our Fish and Minnow, will be right back after this. 93Q Radio was an opportunity for what's called an LPFM to give the community a voice.
The big part of what's happening here is it's us. It's the community of us.
The work that Mr. Fischetti has done with us to promote public education has been absolutely groundbreaking.
They have the pulse of our community, from the nonprofits to the local governments. If you want to find out what's happening in our community, get on board with 93Q.
And 93Q does so much to help our community, helps us promote our local events, as well as local businesses, and tell our story about what we do here in Yuba Sutter.
The folks that work here, they're part of our community, so they understand our needs, and that's important.
Local radio is so important during times of emergency. They're there. We lean on them to provide information to our public.
My wife and I are glad to support 93Q. We're going to do it on a monthly basis, but I really recommend that if you want to make your community better, this is a great place to take a first step right here.
So if you can, reach deep into your pocket and give to 93Q.
93Q is a great partner for law enforcement, and they're a great partner for the Yuba Sutter area.
We're really asking people if you can give $10, $15, $20 a month, and then that enables us to continue to put small business spots on the air, nonprofits, organizations that are they're using every dollar they got just to operate, and they don't have extra money to spend on really promoting their cause. And that is why community radio, to me, I'm grateful to be part of it, and that's why it's important.
Welcome back to In the Tank with Fish and Minnow, and we have Katy Goodson on, and we're going to find out, was she raised by wolves or bears? It's a rumor that fish started, so.
Well, at least I didn't say she was raised by fish, right?
Yeah.
You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
It's like,
That's true.
She could be the Little Mermaid, though.
Although
She
now.
could, doesn't she? Yeah, she could be the Little Mermaid.
That's far-fetched. I don't know.
I don't know.
Definitely don't have the voice, but,
We'll find out. Sing for us. Let's see.
Right
Just
now,
kidding.
on the spot.
She does sing, though.
So do
No,
you.
she doesn't.
Yeah, I
You
do.
do?
Just, here and there.
No, she's...
Yeah.
So you could be the Little Mermaid.
That was one of my favorite songs when I was a kid growing up, where she's, going through the cave looking for all the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's a classic.
How do you do in water? What's it galore?
Yeah. Okay, we're getting off track here.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, was I raised by wolves? No, but it was, survival of the fittest, so to speak, because I was raised in a very big family.
Oh.
So, yeah, youngest of...
Oh, you were the youngest?
Guess how many?
7.
6.
9.
Oh, my gosh.
9, yeah. So it's kind of an ongoing joke because, a lot of people that know me, and I've been in this area for a long time, they're always like, tell me what it was like being the youngest of 9 kids. And I
got beat up a lot.
Yeah.
Or were you like the baby?
I was, in so many ways. I think my older siblings have told me stories like, oh, we just carried you around like a little baby doll and did your hair. And but then I also had a brother that's a year and a half older than me. So of course we fought, and he tough love, I guess you could call it. But so we had those moments too. But it's definitely different, growing up in a family that big. You don't see that as much these days. And as much as I know my parents feel bad that, we didn't have a lot of money and a lot of stuff, but to us, at least speaking for myself, I loved our childhood. I mean, we grew up.
I had a big family. I loved my childhood.
And we didn't really know any different. I mean, we kind of did as we started to go to school. But so there is an old schoolhouse out in the Sutter Buttes. It's the West Butte Schoolhouse, and that is where I grew up. So, it's still standing.
It is still standing. I've driven by it.
The Middle Mountain Foundation at one point purchased it. I'm not sure if it's still under.
It's not too late for you and your husband to buy that house and live there.
He wouldn't go for it. But I've had dreams before where I've lived back there, and I'm like, gosh, I should really buy that property. Wow. And but no,
we know a guy.
Yeah,
we know a guy.
Everybody knows a guy.
We know a guy.
So my dad was an almond farmer. And so in exchange for taking care of the almonds and selling the almonds, because that's a lot of work, right? And people that own those properties, they want the upkeep done. So he was able to process the almonds and take care of the land in exchange for living in this house. So it's literally 2 bedrooms. I would even call them bedrooms because they were kind of connected, and 1 big room and then 1 bathroom for 9 plus mom and dad. So
oh my gosh.
So to say it was close quarters is an understatement, but again, we didn't have very much money because my mom couldn't really work because who's going to take care of that many kids, right? Or nor could she afford daycare? So, but a lot of my older siblings obviously helped take care of us. I have memories of being held by my older sisters and.
That's
so
cool.
Yeah, and we had one little TV. It was a 13-inch, no cable, but with the antenna where one person's outside the door halfway and one person's up on the roof, and you're go to the left, go to the right, and so you're trying to get it to come in. So yeah, that was. And so we got 3 or 4 channels.
Yeah,
and,
3, 10, and 13.
Yeah, right. Channel 6. No, we had. We were just talking about Sesame Street before we came on. That was a huge one. So it was. Again, the only times we ever really noticed was when around the holidays, which I don't want it to sound like some sad story, but there were times we'd go to school and you'd hear your friends say, "Oh, what'd you get for Christmas?"
Oh yeah.
And my brother and I would be like,
we got each other.
Yeah. Exactly. No. But again, though, it's just it's the way it was, and I feel like it really has molded me to the person I am today. I'm very fortunate today to be able to purchase things for my daughters. I have 2 daughters, 19 and 16, 2 girls. Madeline.
Wait.
19.
You have a 19-year-old daughter?
Yes, I do. I had her when I was 7.
I'm so tempted to ask your age, but I would totally get it wrong. Would you have thought that?
No, never thought.
Thank you. I mean, I had her when I was 22, so I'm 41 now. So, but they are amazing girls. Of course, they're very appreciative of all that we're able to give them. But at the same time, though, they of course hear the stories, and we go back out to that house still because it's still standing, and you can actually kind of walk around it. And not that we go
they were like, you live there.
Right. No, but seriously, they not only see that, but they see pictures, they hear stories. Fortunate, my parents are still alive. They live out in Sutter. And so yeah, they see what, I was brought up with and the things that we did and didn't get. And I think they're more appreciative. But yeah, it's made me who I am today.
You would hope that.
Yeah, you would hope so.
I would hope that. My grandson, I had my grandsons come up and stay, and I've got a 3-bedroom place, and so 2 bedrooms are set aside so they can stay when they come up.
That's awesome.
And there's 3 of them, so there's bunk beds in one of them. And they were like, man, Grandpa, we want to sleep together.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't want to sleep in another room. We had 3 in a bed. In a small room. It's like, I don't want to hear, are you out of your mind? That's fine. Nobody's going to die in this scenario. Right?
No, we had a set of bunk beds in the living room. So my parents were in one room, and then I was in a crib/bed for longer than I should have been.
You're lucky you grew as tall as you did.
Poking out sticking out through the end. I'm picturing Grandpa Joe from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
You should have been like 4'6".
And then we had another set of bunk beds in one room, and then like another bed, and it was just beds everywhere, basically, kind of just wherever we could land to sleep, but we only lived out there until I was in the 5th grade, and then we moved into Sutter, which is so funny. You moved into town,
big city.
Yeah.
So, but that's when my dad started working had been working at Sweco out in Sutter. It's a big welding manufacturing place. So yeah, we lived out in Sutter, and we all went to schools out through Britain School out in Sutter High School. I went away for a short time after I graduated. I went to Sonoma State University for a whole year. And then I was still so connected to Yuba Sutter and the people here that I wanted to move back. And
do all your siblings still live here?
No, we are a little spread out. I would say within like an hour to 2 hours. I think the furthest one, my sister Allison, lives in Fort Bragg area. I had a sister that lived in New York up until like 2 years ago, but she moved to Davis. Newcastle, Sutter area, Meridian. Yeah. I'm sorry. The furthest one is my half sister, and she lives in like the Ukiah area. So
still
all California.
Yeah, California girls all the way.
Yeah, and brothers too. I have 5 sisters, 3 brothers. So
wow.
Yeah, crazy, right? So just don't see that anymore. But yeah, it was a lot of fun growing up. We played outside a lot, made ourselves busy as much as we could. Go to the Sutter pool. That was like a big one.
Yeah.
So
when you don't have a lot, you get creative.
You have to.
You really do.
My brother thought creativity was to use me for experiments.
Yeah.
Shove me in a tire, roll me down a hill, all those kinds of things. And, right?
You lived though, right? You lived to tell the story.
But, we didn't have a lot, and so we did have the guy next door had he worked for Rawlings Sports. Mm-hmm. So we had a real baseball diamond. He made sure we had a diamond. We had real baseball gear. We played baseball from sun up to sundown. But as far as stuff, we didn't have stuff. You didn't go out and eat.
Right.
That wasn't going to happen.
That's a good one. Yeah, no, I would say maybe 5 times a year. And if we did, it was Pizza Hut because you could feed with a salad bar. And it was a special occasion. So my dad was an almond farmer, so he would sell almonds at the farmers markets in Davis, and during some years he would even do farmers markets in the Bay Area. And we loved that too. We didn't get to go with him very often, but if we got to go with him, that was a highlight of the week, it's just so different. And, and I know people talk about it all the time, how times have changed and things have changed, but it just seemed like such a different time back then as far as what kids were into.
You didn't have a working mom. She was working. She had 9 kids.
As I should.
Yeah, she probably would have rather gone to work.
She'd have loved to go on to work.
Yeah, my mom loves babies and kids, as you can imagine. So she actually did start going to work when I got a little older. She was a preschool teacher. So through like Head Start and some of those programs. And then unfortunately she got in a really bad car accident. She was driving to Fort Bragg. It was when I was pregnant with Bailey. I just found out I was pregnant literally like 2 days before she was leaving for Fort Bragg. I remember because I went to go get the baby name book from her house, and I lived right across the street. And so went to her house, and she was packing to get ready. And the next day she crashed right by Clear Lake. Really serious too. Like they had to revive her a couple times. Life flighted to Santa Rosa Memorial, and she lost part of her leg from the mid-calf down. They had to amputate it because it was so crushed. So her life changed obviously drastically from that minute. But and my dad worked up until I don't know, I'd probably say like 8 or 9 years ago. So he worked past 70 years old. So both really hardworking, just you raising a huge family, and it's crazy. Again,
I forget your husband's name.
Keith.
Yeah. So did you tell Keith, I want to have 10 because I want to have more than I can? I think
he would have ran the other direction very quickly.
What was your thinking though, Katie, when you come out of because I know I wanted a big family. I told my wife, we're going to have babies till you can't have babies anymore. And after the second one, she said, dude, the factory is closed.
Yeah.
And that was it. We had 2. She was not having another.
It's interesting you asked that, because for me, it was more, I was of the mindset I wanted to make sure I had enough funds and financial support and status to give my kids what I didn't have. So, I always knew I wanted to be a mom, but it was never like, I want to have all these kids. It was, I want to have kids enough to where I can, provide for them. And again, not that we weren't provided for, but you know what I mean? Where it was a little bit more
different.
comfortable.
Yeah.
I was definitely one of those kids that grew up and I was like, okay, I want more for myself. I want to, be more financially secure and stable. And the beautiful thing was we had every opportunity in front of us. I got scholarships. I was able to get financial aid and go to school. And even though I didn't finish college right out of high school, I did go back later on and get my degree. I met my husband at a really young age. We argue about how old I actually was because he doesn't want to say I was young, but we were just friends at first, and then
15.
Yeah. No, I say I was 16, and he's like, "No, you're older than that." But we just dated as friends at first.
Keith, we're outing you, brother. You're getting outed.
So my husband's from Iowa. He is a Midwesterner, and he was in the Marine Corps, and so he came out to 29 Palms, which is down in Southern California, and one of his friends who's from Yuba City, who he was in the Marine Corps with, he would invite him up on the weekends or long extended weekends. And so Keith would come up, and we met through him and mutual friends. And so I met him when I was really young, but we went our own ways. We were just friends, and then we reconnected when I was 19. So we...
you dog.
Yeah. So we very, very quickly came back.
That's a Marine thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, still. Okay.
Yeah, he'll get it. I don't even know if he'll watch this. I don't know. I'm on so many of these like radio stations. Sometimes he's like, it's okay, I've seen it. But this is a little different. I'll have to tell him to check it out. But so we reconnected pretty quickly. So got married within a couple of years, had our first baby. I was, a mom at 22, which... my daughter's 19, and I just can't imagine in a couple of years her being a mom. I mean, we really were having babies, and I was scared to death. And, I had a child that was very needy of my attention. She was, colic, and she cried. And so, it was a lot. It was a lot to, kind of get thrown into, new in our marriage. And at that point, I just started working at Yuba City Police Department. I started there when I was, I think, 23. Madeline was 2 years old, so 23, 24. And that's a lot to be dealing with as a young parent.
So you were already working at the PD before Keith came back up?
No, I'm sorry. We got back together when I was 19, and so I didn't start working there until I was like 23, I think.
Oh, okay,
so,
okay.
I worked for an insurance company before the police department. I sold insurance locally, and again, got to know a lot of people in the community that way. I still see people from time to time, and they'll refer back to when I sold insurance. So we, ended up having our second child, Bailey, and it was just a young parent situation where we were trying to make and trying to get through a marriage, which I don't know how deep we want to get on this, but marriage is hard and it's difficult, and people grow and change. And I was very much into my career. It's hard to be in law enforcement and not just dive right into it.
You have to be totally focused in it. You do.
And there's something that really pulls you in there. You want to be involved, you want to help. You find yourself, especially when you're new, which is kind of the joke, you're like that now, but wait till you've been here a few years. You won't volunteer for everything. But I was that person that wanted to do everything, and I was very excited about it. My husband was kind of struggling with, his identity, because he had this horrible accident, which I didn't even mention that. So he had an accident driving a big 5-ton truck where there was a big dust storm, and he rear-ended the big truck in front of him. They were on a convoy. And the person's supposed to pull over, I guess, if they stop for any reason. Well, he didn't stop, so Keith hit him, and it took off the bottom portion of his foot and into his heel. And so he was in the hospital for 2 months. This is before we got back together. But so I know I'm kind of all over the place, but he was medically discharged from the Marines. And so
that happened while he was in?
Yeah. When he was in the Marine Corps. So, again, kind of going back and forth, but that was something that he then had to deal with as far as kind of figuring out what he was going to do. And here I was finding a career I loved. And so we just kind of got on different paths. And so we ended up separating. I think you knew about this.
Yeah.
So
I met you somewhere around that time, because I feel like I met you before the PD somewhere.
Probably just around town somewhere.
Yeah, but then at the PD is when I really met you, and we talked. I was chaplain there. And,
right, you were our chaplain.
And a rather absent chaplain, I might say, because I just was so busy. But and I remember that, and I remember thinking, this isn't going to last. They're going to get back. I remember thinking that when you told me, because it was in your voice.
Well, I'm glad you knew that, because I didn't know that.
No, you didn't. No, but I mean, it was in your voice that this is not the direction you wanted to go.
Yeah, it was a tough time. So we separated. We actually divorced. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, we divorced legally, and. But then by the grace of God, we came back together, and so we were only apart for a few years and got remarried on our same anniversary. And so very fortunate, because we're great now. I mean, it's just so funny, because when you do get married at such a young age and then you try to grow together, it's really hard to do that sometimes. Right. And we're fortunate. I know not everybody's story goes the exact same way as ours, and I get that. But I have found myself wanting to always talk to people about, their struggles and their marriages. I feel like God's given me this to use for good. And so that's what I try to do. Even just right now, being open about it on a forum like this.
Well, because people, I hate the term irreconcilable differences. Mm-hmm. But I understand it. My wife and I got married young, and we both have made the statement we were way too young.
Right.
We were like 20, 21, and we even told our boys. We were very honest about it. So when you say that, it's like I want people to know. It's like this might not be your best move, right? And both my boys were in their 30s when they got married. You don't need to hang around the house that long. 25 is my gift.
Wait a minute.
40 when you
I wasn't saying wait that long.
But I totally understand, and I love how you recognize the value. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when we go through stuff, we don't recognize there was value there, right?
Well, I just wish more people would be real, because I feel like if we were and more people were open about struggles, there wouldn't be so much hiding and trying to hold everything in. Because, I'll admit, when I first got married, I thought, oh, you get married and then it's wonderful, it's great. And then I find out later on, then I find out later on, statistically, the first 2 years of marriage are the hardest, right?
Rough.
And so I'm like, oh, well, no one ever told me that, and now everything's so accessible through the internet. And not to age myself, but back then it wasn't as easy to just, do reference. You'd have to go to the library and look things up or read a book, and I just never did it. So I didn't know, obviously, what to compare it to. And again, when we started having those issues, I didn't really seek out help that I probably should have, and neither did he. But if we could ever help someone not have to go through what we did, like both of us are completely open to tell our story and to talk to people, because even if it helps just one person, to me, that's worth it. So yeah. And, like I said, our daughters now are getting older, so we're kind of, moving into a different chapter in our lives where we're going to be empty nesters in the next few years. Maybe we'll see. We might have some like you, where they don't move out for a while, but I would actually be okay with that, because, we absolutely adore our daughters, and I'm sure you do too.
I think something happens when you go through drama, when you go through trauma, right?
Yes.
Whatever it is, whether it's emotional or physical. And when you're talking about your husband going through that, men, with us, everything is about everything. I have to manspread when I say it.
Yes, please do. Enlighten us.
Everything, even when we talk to each other, it's like, we go, what do you do for a living? Mm-hmm. So, and then I'm a plumber, so we put them in a plumber box.
Right.
So men are very much that way. Women will get into, two women can go in a bathroom together, not knowing each other, walk out and say, oh yeah, her great-great-grandparents came over on the Mayflower. Yeah. You found that out when you're washing your hands. How did you know that? Yeah. Two men will be like, hey, we're going to get a birthday shirt for our neighbor that we've had for 35 years. What color is Henry's eyes? Why would I know?
Oh, my favorite is after Keith's been visiting with one of his friends. I'm like, so what's going on with him and so-and-so? Or, back when they were like dating. He's like, I don't know. We don't talk about that. I'm like, wait, you don't know who his girlfriend is? No. I'm like, what do you guys talk about?
But guy stuff.
Sports, the weather.
So it is so true, though. And of course, I did get one where he is amazing at so many things, but communication is not one of his strong suits.
Oh, that's a rough one.
So, but I know that now, though, and it's something that, once you kind of acknowledge and accept your spouse's flaws, and
that's
regardless,
so huge
that you're going to work through it together. Mm-hmm. That's life changing, and it's a job, and that's the thing. Like, whether it be the movies or social media, like everybody looks at the best possible portion of people's lives, and they go, "Oh, I want that," right? And then they get in the thick of it, and they're like, "Oh, this isn't what I signed up for." Well, that's a lie. That's not what life's like. It's a job. It's work. Takes compromise. It takes, bad days, good days, and
richer or poor, sickness and health, right?
Yeah.
Good times, bad times. But you don't get to write the where your life's going to go. You don't get to make that choice. No. So whatever happens, then it's the choice that you make.
Right.
Because two people have to make the same choice. Mm. And if they don't make the same choice, now they still have to make choices from that point on.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, it's always, I've always been kind of, I remember one time I told Patty, I want a divorce. I'm out of here, right?
You actually said the D word?
Yeah, I did. We were in the garage. I'll never forget it.
We're in the garage. It's like, I remember everything about it.
I was frustrated, and I knew I was frustrated. I was working several jobs. It was just a rough time, going to school. And the minute the words came out of my mouth, I knew I didn't really think that.
Right.
I didn't really want that.
Kind of.
It was like somebody else said it.
Mm-hmm. But it was almost like you needed to say it in order to feel that way. You know what I mean? Like sometimes saying those words, and then you have that reaction where that like gut punch, and you're like, "Ooh, no!" That's like, I know I just said that, but I know for a fact that's not what I feel. So, and it's okay to say like, I take it back, or I messed up, or I'm sorry.
Yeah, which is what I did. I said, no, that's not what I want. I want this to work. I just don't know how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah,
no. She already knew, right?
Yeah.
I know you don't know how to do it. That's obvious, Bob.
Yeah.
It's like,
well, and it's just a continual thing too. Like, I don't want to put off this impression like now everything's great. Like, we're perfect now. We always get along. No, that's not the case. Like, we still struggle. We have our bad days. But again, it's just that choice we make every day to make it work. And, and there's more good than bad. And, all the things that you can look at on the bright side, the silver lining of things where, I mean, obviously, if anyone's ever in a position where, they're being hurt physically or emotionally or anything like that, total different story.
Yeah, it is. Or even sometimes, that whole thing of irreconcilable differences. I do want to touch on this. We've formed relationships with people. Mm-hmm. They're not all marital relationships.
Right.
And I have had people, because I've done a lot of counseling, they formed a marital relationship, but that didn't work. They could be great friends.
Right.
But that, you know what I mean? They could be like best friends.
Yeah.
Right. But I think that it's our whole misunderstanding of marriage and commitment, the whole thing, right? So relationally, I'd rather people get along. I don't care what else you do. Mm-hmm. In the end, get along.
Be kind, yeah.
Yeah,
be nice
kind. And especially once you have kids, right? Because it's like, okay, you got kids. Right. Yeah. So I think about these things. It's like, well, look, I don't care what the relationship is. Can you repair it?
Right.
And if I don't let Kelly talk, this relationship's going in the toilet.
Yeah. Right. I know. Maybe we should shift gears.
Not at all.
I don't know if you guys thought we were going to have like a seminar on marriage.
I love Kelly. She said, I'm just going to let you do your thing. Wait a minute. It's my thing?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what that is.
It's a thing now.
You just have a lot of good things to say and share. You can't help it.
You can't help it.
Yeah.
Because I did want to, and I thank you for sharing that, and I did want to talk about how she's been involved in the community.
Yeah, I want to hear more about this.
Not just with the PD, but that has been by being the PIO, which is really when we started bringing you on the air for that, right? Mm-hmm. But that's really been, you are very community connected.
I love, it sounds so silly, but I love talking to people. I love being with the community. So I started with Yuba City Police. I was there for about 16 years. It was very hard to leave. I loved the job, but I really wanted to do more. And so now I'm at Yuba County Sheriff as, I say as a PIO, but that's actually not my technical title. It's like communications specialist. But basically, anytime that something happens, especially with a law enforcement agency, media is going to want to know who's your public information officer. Who do I go to get the information? So, so I started out doing community outreach kind of part-time because I was in records at Yuba City Police. So a lot of people knew me from coming into the front counter. I also did the Citizen Academy. So when I first started coming into the radio station, it was to talk about different things we had going on, Citizen Academy, stuff like that. They created a position, Community Policing Coordinator. And so I was able to take that position, loved it. I was able to go into the schools, the fairs. I mean, people saw me all over. And I just loved talking to people about what we were doing.
Yeah.
It was during a very tough time throughout our nation where, and still is, where law enforcement isn't always painted in the best light. And the media loves to
look for things,
loves to pull out and highlight the things that are negative and that they know are going to draw attention. And I had worked with these women and men for so many years, and I knew their intentions were good and pure. I mean, for the most part, like I know there are bad police officers across the nation, but I could truly speak for the department that I was part of, and I wanted to do that. I was brought up in a household that was not that they're against law enforcement whatsoever. They're very supportive, but it was definitely kind of more geared towards, I would say, like a liberal background. Mm-hmm. So then to come to a law enforcement agency where it's a little bit more, you would say conservative, right?
Generally, yeah.
Generally.
Yeah.
So it was very much like very eye-opening for me. But at the same time, I still kind of knew my roots of, being brought up that way. So I felt like I was like a really good in-between person. I was a good liaison between. I felt like I could understand both sides in a certain sense, but I had this deep passion for being the voice for law enforcement. And I would see these men and women go out the door, and I knew what they were doing to protect the community, literally putting their lives on the line.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I would see all the negative talk and all the, or the few that would tarnish the name for the whole group, and it was just frustrating. And I wanted to make a difference, and I still do. And that's really what's propelled me into coming into this, type of career. Is I feel like I can be the spokesperson. I feel like I can tell you what you need to hear. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be transparent. but I'm also going to be fair, and I'm going to, as best as I can, highlight what these men and women are doing day in and day out, because it truly isn't shown in the media.
Yeah.
And we're fortunate these days where we do kind of get to be our own media, in a way. Like, we get to have our platforms, like our social media. We get to go on interviews like this and then push it out for everybody to hear. So I feel fortunate in that way. I try to get to know the media as best as I can and befriend them a little bit, and not in a manipulative kind of way, but just because I truly want them to see, like, hey, I'm here to tell you the truth and be transparent. Yeah. I'm not going to skew things, but at the same time, respect us and give us a chance to show the good side that we're doing. And I've found that really works. I feel like, I've come a long way with a couple of the different, even, Sacramento radio stations, where they're coming out to me saying, they highlighted our little 60-second shakedown segment that we have, and stuff like that, where they're like, oh yeah, these are just, dads and fathers and brothers and just all the things that they do outside of their job, and just truly how difficult their job is day in and day out, that I'll tell you right now, you guys don't hear about. Like, I get an end of shift report, and we had one deputy the other night that was like halfway tased, kind of like by accident, just like a little poke, and then also almost got hit by a car. I mean, it was just insane. Like, it didn't happen, but I'm like, and this is just one shift for one night that these guys deal with, and it's crazy. And then they've, I don't know, it's a lot.
Yeah. Katy, because I knew her and she was doing that, we were coming on the air, and I asked her, would she come on? And she was one of the first ones to come on and didn't know we had TV. Didn't know she would be.
It was my day off, too. So guess what I was wearing?
Sweatsuit.
I still tell people that story.
And
I thought she looked great, but what do I know? I'm a guy, but she's like,
it just
are you
wasn't very
kidding
professional.
me?
I was like in my gym clothes. This was my day off, and I'm like, I'll just swing by there, do the radio thing. The very first thing I say when I come in is, I'm like, well, I'm in my workout clothes, but it's okay because it's just radio, right? And he's like, well, actually, we have this Facebook Live thing now. I'm like, of course you do.
Cool.
But it was fine.
But she was a trooper. She went through it. She went ahead and did what she had to do. But after that, different. She's
exactly.
coming. I noticed she's a little more squared away, not gym clothes today. So
not today.
She learned. She learned.
Maybe next time. We'll see. But no, you guys have come a long way. I mean, how many years now have you been doing these interviews? 10 years.
10 years, and we always wanted to, like you said, my being at the PD, and I was a
You're a chaplain.
law enforcement in the military.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I remember how we got treated. I mean, it was like, they said, oh, you're the cream of the crop, right? And it's like, well, we get treated like the dirt that the crop grows on.
Yes.
And so I was very keenly aware, and then meeting you and knowing where you were coming from to get the information out. That's why we have all 5 branches of law enforcement on the air every month, so they can see this might be your kid's soccer coach. These are real people.
Yep.
Is there people that do bad things in law enforcement? Yes,
of course.
But it's not all of them.
And it's just like any other job. There are bad people.
And so I wanted people to see the other side, and I knew you were that way. I was a little disappointed when you left the city for a while. But you came back.
Yeah.
And then the minute I heard that you were back, I was like, come on,
where'd you go?
It's funny. I left to go to the state. I worked at the Highway Patrol. Still stayed in law enforcement.
Yeah.
But as much as it was kind of hard to leave, I learned so much. So I went there only for a year, but it was just like this, almost like look at it like an intense year of training. Like, I learned so much about being a public information officer, and about more of like the Sacramento media market, and just kind of like on a bigger scale, which made me more confident then to come back to an agency like Yuba County and feel like I could be their public information officer. So I'm glad that you missed me, and I'm glad I came back. But no, this is home. I was born and raised here. I've only left to go to college at one time. Otherwise, I've lived here my whole life. I can't go anywhere without seeing someone I know. I'm sure you're the same way, and I'm sure you're the same way.
Yep.
My kids tell me that.
It is the community.
It really is.
And those are the good parts. Those are the good parts about being in a small community is, you get to see friendly, familiar faces. And, like at the Peach Festival the other night, that was fun. I just over saw people.
I loved it. Yeah. I don't care how hot it was.
It was hot.
I didn't see you.
It was too hot for me.
She's like, yeah, no, 110. Or
So
105.
I'm building a TV station, right? We're going to have local TV.
Yeah.
You'd be a perfect weather girl.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you want
That
on?
is hilarious. So real quick,
You
I don't
would.
know, no.
And Kurt does our weather on the radio.
This is so funny because when I was in high school, so I always watched the news with my parents, right? Well, apparently out of my friend group, I was the only one that watched the news. So they would ask me every morning, what's the weather going to be like? So I was like, yeah, no joke.
So you were the weather
so
girl.
I was
man.
literally that's what they said. They're like, you're our resident weather girl. And so for you to say that, that's pretty comical because my high school friends would get a kick out of that. They're like, you've been telling the weather ever since you were in high school. So
Well, it's what we want to do is a brief weather and news, and Kurt does our weather. But now we're building 93Q TV.
That's awesome.
And so we need to have the weather run. There's a system that you can use where it will be.
How are you at
24
Vanna Whiting?
oh, I have got this. I will try out even.
I have you do
Excellent.
weather and have Kelly do news. We're in. Between the two of
That
them.
would
Come
be
on.
so much fun.
See me in front of a camera.
Come on, Kurt.
You're like, we got a cold front coming from the west,
Yeah.
and high
There she
pressure.
goes.
Yeah, I got this.
I love it.
It's hot today.
Oh,
Really?
yeah.
I know. I was thinking of the song Heat Wave as I was walking out of
I
the
love that
office.
song. Yeah.
And I'm like, we should use that for a reel. That's my life now, is because I do all of our social media at the Sheriff's Department. I'm constantly thinking of different songs, or I'll look at what's trending. Because, you have to appeal to the lower ages,
really
right?
do,
The younger
yeah.
age, especially if we're trying to get their attention on certain issues and topics. And so, yeah, I'm constantly looking at different songs. And, and it's funny because a lot of the younger ages, like I know my girls, they listen to the older music.
I'm seeing that
Yeah.
more and more. Do your
Yeah.
boys do that?
Totally. So my youngest will be singing a song, and I'll finish it out, and he's like, "How do you know that song?"
Yes.
I'm like, "That song's 30 years old, kids."
Exactly.
Like, yeah, they're just coming back around.
Yeah,
but being on reels or little, shorts, they're now
Yes.
seeing them.
Yeah, the YouTube shorts are huge too.
Yeah.
I know. Trying to stay on top of everything is quite a job in itself.
Did you
And so-
go? I know you said you went to college for a little bit, but how did it align coming back and going to PD?
So that's a
and
good question. So when how much time do we have left? I don't want to talk too much. We're good.
We have all the time.
all the time we went. So when I was
Kurt will tell us when the time's up. She goes, Katie, stop.
Yeah.
Don't need one."
Get the hook.
Yeah, you get a hook.
No, so I when I wanted to be a public information officer, before when I wanted to first do that, social media wasn't a thing, I'll be honest with you, or at least it wasn't as big of a thing. I just wanted to be the one that talks to the media, does the news things, and but then as I started to kind of change careers and go into this direction, that's when social media just went crazy. So then I started doing just more classes and trainings. There's a lot of different outlets, especially specific to government agencies and even more like public safety agencies, where they have trainings on, how to do different reels and just the laws pertaining to social media for government agencies. So any chance I got, I would sign up for those. And since we know it's always changing, they're constantly having new classes and kind of gearing it towards that. But to be honest, I didn't want to do the social media thing at first. It was more just the PIO side. And then I've just had to adapt since then. And I love it some days. I love the creativity that I get to, provide, and very fortunate being with the Sheriff's Department. The difference between a Sheriff's Department and a city department, I'm sure you guys know a little bit, but a sheriff's an elected official, and so we have a little bit more freedom than like a state agency or a city agency. And so, I really like that we can put out what sheriff wants and what aligns with his views and values. And but yeah, so I get to do that, and it's fun. But at the same time, I get tired sometimes of doing social media stuff, or I don't want to do it for myself anymore because I'm doing it for work so much, because you're constantly either on your phone or on the computer, and your eyes start crossing. And so that's kind of how it shifted towards that. Was I just kind of had to follow with what was happening as far as putting information out. It's not the same anymore. I mean, the newspaper is only a couple days a week now, and it's in your mailbox. I don't know. I mean, it's changed so much, and I'm sure it's just going to continue to change. So it's going to be interesting to see how it continues.
Well, it's why we want to go to YouTube TV.
Yeah.
Because people are not cable and Dish Network and Direct TV. People are like, no.
Yeah.
And so YouTube and Hulu and PureFlix and Netflix. And so people are able to literally now, much cheaper, pick certain things. So we'll develop this channel. I can't get my mind off seeing you do weather. I just can't.
He has a vision.
It's happening.
Come on,
happening.
You're doing the news bite
I think it would
and the
be
weather.
fun.
It's like,
if anything, we should at least do a reel about it. Just to
Totally.
make people think we're doing that.
well, you have the thing of it's not like you're moving on, but there are things that it's already in your skill set.
Yeah.
And working with people and being like you were already doing interviews. You walking in here, getting me to shut up so you can talk.
I was going to say, you didn't need me. You're just doing just fine. Just kidding.
I'll never be somebody that's just okay with, I'm always happy to do more or to not necessarily more work.
You have to keep growing and evolving
right?
with stuff.
And pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. I haven't always been comfortable speaking in front of groups, but
you have 8 siblings. I feel like that's just
I had to have a voice to be
You're
heard.
talking in front of a group, but you wasn't even talking.
It's always a group. It's your family.
What's funny though is no joke. I was super timid and shy all the way up to high school. When I was in high school, I was I got into student government and I was our senior class president. But that would say that was the first bit of me feeling a little bit more confident to talk to people. But it really kind of just changed when I was at Yuba City. And I think it's because I felt so passionate about getting the information out there. And I felt like I could reach some of the groups that might not otherwise have listened if it were someone else, in a uniform. Because, I think it's a little bit more intimidating when somebody in a uniform is going to talk to a group versus me. And I'm, but I'm speaking on behalf of them and I'm trying to provide the same information, right? I'm just going to deliver it a different way and hopefully listen well and make the people feel comfortable. And I feel like that's where my strong suits come in is kind of gauging the audience and knowing how to speak to people and kind of meeting them where they are, so to speak. That's the thing. I've been through it. I don't judge anybody on their house. I don't care how much money you do or don't have. I don't care your background. I don't care who you vote for. I just want everybody to receive the right information, and I'm going to do the best I can to do that. So.
I have the Rodney King religion.
Yeah.
Can't we just all get along?
Yeah. Except for
what I mean? It's like, and Rodney King's politics. Can we just all get along? Yeah. It's like, when you're like that, I feel like you adapt more quickly to the community, and you do want the best. So you're do everything you can to not misrepresent, right? And paint things. And I love having community radio because we get to do that. I don't want a bunch of negative stuff. They can get that anywhere.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I want people to see what I see. This is an incredible community.
Well, and it's not even just what you see. You're bringing on people of all different backgrounds and jobs, and you're giving them a voice. And so,
see, I am giving you a voice.
You are.
I said
you
them.
are. You know I'm just teasing you.
No, you guys are a perfect balance because, it's she's the calm, the yin, and you're the yang, and, it works. So
you're a good balance.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask, were you still at Yuba City when you guys had the bunny?
No.
You missed the whole bunny thing?
I missed the bunny thing. I did.
That's so sad to me.
Yeah, we don't allow bunnies here. You know that, right? No bunnies.
So what's so funny? Because obviously Yuba County, Yuba City, right? There's a lot of very close words there. I got so many calls about that bunny because they thought I was the PIO for Yuba City. And bunny. I used to work there. So for the longest time, media was still calling me. I was like, no, it's not my story.
But now we need a bunny. Yeah.
I wish it was, but no, we don't have the bunny. And that's been awesome for them.
The bunny shut our radio station down.
Yeah.
The bunny chewed it. And we were up here trying to figure things out.
No joke?
Oh, so you actually had the bunny on. I didn't know
we had the bunny on. And first the bunny chewed the
bunnies chew everything.
The headphone cable. Chewed it in half, right? And then, so they put the bunny on the ground.
Oh, no.
I don't know if that was a good idea.
No.
So the bunny went behind and chewed the line that feeds from back there. Yeah.
That bunny did not like you.
Gary had to walk through. He finally found it. And he's like, the bunny did it. So we were thinking about having a bunny with the red, no bunnies.
Like a most wanted poster with the bunnies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. If you see this person, call us at, this number. Put a reward.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I thought he was just he or she was just a cute little innocent
I don't
bunny,
know.
but
It's
not
a cool
so
bunny,
much.
but
Yeah.
No, but we have a bunch of bunnies in our backyard. We live out on 2 acres out on Township Road, and there are bunnies like crazy out
Everywhere.
there. Yeah. Running around.
Yeah, so how big is your house now? I'm curious.
So,
no, you have 2 children. Do you have more than 2 rooms?
I don't think it's very big. It's about 1,600 square foot,
Yeah.
but we live on 2 acres, and so we have a lot of beautiful land there and space, and I love it. I have a pool, which is so funny because I wanted a pool for so many years.
Oh my gosh.
Because I grew up going
The
like, to
dream,
the Sutter
yeah.
pool, and so I feel very fortunate. But yeah, we have. It's actually 4
Do
bedrooms.
the girls
with
each
it.
have their own room?
They do. They do. Yep,
Spoiled
I know.
little girls.
I know.
Did you
They'll
take-
never know what it's
We're
like
not
to
sleeping
share a room.
together. Oh,
We have the funniest stories though, me and my siblings. So I'll take that any day over the space. You know,
bedtime's the best. I
Yeah.
feel like bedtime and like the morning when you get that whole I
giggly,
shared rooms
like,
my
yes.
whole life.
You
Yeah.
have siblings then?
Yeah, I have siblings.
How many do you have?
Well, I grew up with 4 older brothers and 1 little sister.
Wow, that's
So,
6 is a big number.
Yeah, 2 stepbrothers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, bedtime was like the best. We had
Yeah.
bunk beds and a crib in the room, and I
Yeah.
can remember like vividly getting up and like grabbing my little sister out of the crib and pulling her in bed to snuggle. And
See, and I have memories of my older brother doing that. Like he's like one time I woke up with him and he's like, "Sorry, you were cold," and I was like, "No, I love this." Like, I get this. He's being nice to me. I love it.
we only got 1 blanket.
until the sun comes up, and then you're not nice again.
Yeah, and it's like, "Go away, little sister." But yeah, no, it's been a wonderful thing growing up with a big family. I mean, we have our ups and downs. Of course, now as adults, we sometimes bicker and don't always get along, but in the end, we are always there for each other and supporting each other, and I'm sure they're gonna get a kick out of this. So I'll have to tell them.
You're
check.
going to be getting emails.
Yeah.
I
But you guys
promise.
have a big
Text.
group text?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
No, we
Going
do.
on.
We do have a
You're
group
like, how do we
text.
silence
Yeah,
the
it's
group
usually
text?
about my parents and what they need. But yes,
Yeah.
we'd have a big group text. So, but it's
Well, I
been fun.
appreciate you being willing to come on, Katie. I've known you a long time, and what Kelly and I want to do is to have people be able to come on. It's like these are real people in your community,
Absolutely.
right?
Yep.
You know, a PIO is a person in your neighborhood.
In your neighborhood.
And so, you know, and I always thought, you know, from the first time I met you, I just thought you were a great gal.
Thank you.
You know, and
Same.
and now that I find out your story, I find out why it was so easy for me to relate to you. You know, I grew up poor Italian boy, blah, 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 blah. But it really made a difference in my life. It makes me very appreciative, and I can see that in yours. And then going through the struggles that you've gone through. I remember one time I went into this bishop, and I made an appointment. I sat down, and I said, "Sir, I don't know what else to tell you. I'm going through it." And he said, "What's a great testimony?" I said, "What?"
Yeah.
I came in here for some sympathy,
Yeah.
right? And he said, "You're going through it. Keep saying that. You're not stopping in it."
Exactly.
And I think there's something so real about that, because I don't care who you are. You're going to go through stuff in life.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care who you are. Things are going to happen, you know. And yeah, what a great story. Thanks for
and our
coming
daughters
on.
got to see, you know, true reconciliation
Yep.
and firsthand, you know. So it's,
Yeah.
you know, I always ask them, I'm like, "Are you sure we didn't screw you up?" They're like, "No, we're sure." I'm like, "Okay."
Talking away for therapy now.
It's
Yeah.
nothing. It's 7 years
Yeah.
of good
Yeah,
therapy.
it's totally
we'll
fine,
bring
Mom.
you down the other side.
They're
right?
amazing. So, but yeah, thank you for having me. I really enjoy this platform.
Oh,
so.
we're going to do this again.
Good.
There's
Anytime.
more of you. Oh, yes. By the way, because you went through another experience, the tank, with
I
us.
love this. I will definitely use it. I'm
Think
not a
of us
big
when you
coffee
use it.
drinker, but I'm a tea. I like drinking coffee, but by the time I put all this stuff in there, it's like 800 calories. So it's like a treat. But yes, I will definitely use this.
Well, we have water.
Yeah, you can drink anything
can
from
put
it.
water
I
in
have
it.
suspected there's gin in hers, but I mean, I don't want to say that publicly.
No, don't ask, don't tell. Just go with
What
it.
am I, 70-year-old women all the way?
Gin bread. Have you thought about gin
Would
bread?
you stop? All right, just cut this, Kurt. We're done.
Too much fun. Thank you.
Faith, I do appreciate you,
Of course.
you know, as a person who you are, and I feel like this community is what it is because of people like you. You have a life experience that you've applied. Your girls are going to be like you and Keith. They're going to be different because of you've been different. You know, I feel like Kelly's boys are going to own her soul before it's over.
I know, right?
But the littlest one's working it. He's working it. But
it's always the baby.
But I also believe Kelly's very, very on it because she knows it.
Yes.
And so
she's aware. She's ready.
I'll be praying God gives her technique to work it so she doesn't get that.
Yeah.
God help Kelly.
You could do a whole segment just on parenting.
Yeah, oh my
gosh.
And like talk for hours. I mean, so,
Totally.
But yeah. No,
Easily.
Good times.
So anyway, appreciate you coming on. You now, hopefully, what camera am I on, Kurt? This one? Oh, that one. Okay.
Just
How are you
loop
supposed to
back and
know?
forth.
Yes.
Well, downstairs they have lights in the TV studio. Here we have a Kurt that points, right?
Yes,
It's like,
he needs one of those big
this
fingers.
camera, right? And so, am I on that one or this one? This one. All right, thank you. So, listen, we want to just say we are so grateful to have had Katy Goodson on. I knew when she showed up in her gym clothes. She was the real deal. And so having this experience with her, I hope that you, as a community, get to see her a little different. Get to see that this is who Katy is. She's got depth to her, and there's a reason why she cares about all of us. So we'll be right back after this from our sponsors. Always wanted to say that. 93Q Radio was an opportunity for what's called an LPFM to give the community a voice.
The big part of what's happening here is it's us. It's the community of us.
The work that Mr. Fischetti has done with us to promote public education has been absolutely groundbreaking.
They have the pulse of our community from the nonprofits to the local governments. If you want to find out what's happening in our community, get on board with 93Q.
And 93Q does so much to help our community, helps us promote our local events, as well as local businesses, and tell our story about what we do here in Yuba Sutter.
The folks that work here, they're part of our community, so they understand our needs, and that's important.
Local radio is so important during times of emergency. They're there. We lean on them to provide information to our public.
My wife and I are glad to support 93Q. We're going to do it on a monthly basis, but I really recommend that if you want to make your community better, this is a great place to take a first step right here.
So if you can, reach deep into your pocket and give to 93Q.
93Q is a great partner for law enforcement, and they're a great partner for the Yuba Sutter area.
We're really asking people if you can give $10, $15, $20 a month, and then that enables us to continue to put small business spots on the air, nonprofits, organizations that are they're using every dollar they got just to operate, and they don't have extra money to spend on really promoting their cause. And that is why community radio, to me, I'm grateful to be part of it, and that's why it's important. All right, we'd like to welcome you back. Thanks for watching. We have such a great time with these, and for Kelly and I, this is an opportunity where we get to see somebody's life unpacked, right?
Totally.
And get to know them for who they are, and all this stuff. You have a great story. Your life is a great story.
Thank you.
And I was interviewing you when I said, I have to get Little Miss Great Story to work with.
Yeah.
Did it turn out I was right?
I think so. I mean, I'd like to think that this is, that this works.
This fits for you.
It does.
It's so you.
I love.
Especially with the hat, but I'm partial.
I know. Now I feel like I'm going to have to wear the hat every time. I mean, if you watch probably every other episode, then you'll see the hat anyways.
People are going to be buying you hats for your birthday, for Christmas. They'll be going, Kelly wears hats. That's what we do.
It'll be like that book, Happy Birthday Moon. Yeah, it'll be perfect.
So when's your birthday?
December 6th.
Oh, we got a ways off. We can do Christmas and birthday at the same time.
It's perfect. That's like what every December baby hates is Christmas birthdays. Yeah. But I don't mind. Mine's far enough apart. It's a couple weeks.
So do you ever wear a ball cap?
I do. Yeah. Yeah, usually if I'm like gardening or working in the, in
do you
the
do
shed
that cool girl thing where they stick their hair through the...
Yeah, the ponytail through it. You have to.
That is so cool.
I know.
I don't know why
I'm surprised you haven't grown your hair out just to do a ponytail through your
I had a ponytail. I
had
very long
I can picture
hair.
you with a ponytail.
But not... You can't?
No, I can't. I can picture you with a ponytail.
Yeah, my hair was really long, and
really?
I didn't...
This is where we need like Gilman, like the Regis and Kelly show, and Gilman pulls a picture of you up and he shows.
Oh, yeah, we have those. I had to give Kurt a bunch of pictures.
Yeah, Kurt, if you could just start tossing in pictures, that would be great.
Well, people come in the studio and they see the one of me that's on the wall, and they go, really, that was you? And I said, yeah, I had like this afro. But I grew it much longer than that. That's so fun. It was a whole different look. I was talking to junior dragster drivers this morning, and there was 3 little girls that do that. So we were talking about the girls and boys. They're in their teens. And they said, the mullet is coming back.
It seriously is. And I'm not kidding you. My boys have both asked, and I refuse. I say, not if I'm paying for the haircut, and 2, not if you're living in the house, because I knew you've got to be one step ahead of Oliver all the time. And in his brain, he's just going to pay for it himself. So and not while you're living in my house.
Okay, I'm
all about
a
expression.
mullet. Is that going to change our relationship?
Yeah, a lot. Especially if you like start wearing white beaters.
Because I had something like that when I was playing in the band.
I'm going to need to see these pictures.
I have to look, yeah,
I'm going to need to see these pictures. Okay, we digress. So Katy was amazing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What a just you know how they say, oh, she's a beautiful girl inside and out, or any person. They say it about men too. Yeah. She truly is. She truly is. She absolutely fits that definition. Yeah.
I loved getting to know like why she is like who she is. Yeah. I loved getting to know where she came from, and because you see her on her PIO stuff, and she's not overly polished or anything, but she's put together because she's doing business, and she's talking about important things. But it was fun to hear.
I was totally convinced she was a California girl before I ever asked her. Huh? She has that.
Yeah, she has a California girl vibe.
You got a California girl vibe.
Do I? That's a good thing. But I'm like California mountain vibe.
Yeah, you have the mountain
I'm not
girl.
Beach vibe.
Yeah, you're not on Rodeo Drive.
No, gosh, no.
You're on Pine Tree Court.
Yes, Pine Tree Court is so I was actually born at home in a trailer on a mountain.
Come on.
Acreage. Yeah, my mom had a midwife, but she planned to have me at home. So I am like my
was
grandma.
That in the Buttes?
No, Humboldt County. But my grandmother came to visit when I was just a toddler, and I found a letter from her the other day, and she said she called me her little billy goat because she could not believe that my toddler legs were out hiking her, a full-grown woman. But I grew up mountain, and it's never gone away. I love mountains.
You're the Iron Woman.
Don't talk to me about that, because I took a picture of that book when we had on Brian, and I'm still like, I cannot do an Iron Man, but it's still in the back. I got a new road bike a couple of weeks ago, and now it's like not for training, just because I sold my last one, but now I'm like, I guess I could Iron Man it. I just have to start swimming.
So the whole time we were talking to Katy, I could make connection with you two. I could see you two being fast friends.
Oh, I could totally easily be friends.
You know
with
what
Katy.
I mean?
Yeah.
It was like she's
so down to earth.
Yeah. You don't have to. There is something about for a while it was very popular to have reality TV. Yeah. But it wasn't real. It was like the Jerry Springer show. Throwing chairs. It's like, was that real, or it was for ratings they're doing it. Yeah. But I think people like real stories, and they're not offended by when your story takes a curve because things didn't go well. So you don't have to paint this picture of I had a perfect childhood. Yeah. Everything went well, right? But being able to look back at your childhood and go, I'm really glad I had that.
Yeah, I had a great childhood. Yeah. It wasn't perfect, but it was great. I loved that Katy said, we see everyone's, she didn't word it as a highlight reel, but it's what I would call it. We see the best. So we see the best of what it's like to be married. Social media shows us the best of. You get people's highlight reel, but to actually, I think, see the real person behind that's more important.
Yeah, I'm careful to not let too much out.
Like the mullet.
You're getting the bullet points. That's it.
The bullet points and the mullet points.
Yeah, the mullet. Listen, we can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day to watch these. We have such a great time doing it. We're really grateful to be in this position. And one more time, I don't know if you can like us or whatever you do.
I don't know.
Subscribe. But whatever you do on these things, do it, right?
Yeah.
And then if there's somebody you think, gosh, they have a great life story, let Kelly and I know.
Yeah.
And we'll throw them in the tank with Fish and the Minnow.